Hey everybody, it's your girl Peach Emma and David, and we're going to talk about the Thrilla and that's vanilla, the Tyson Paul fight, Cross and Penguin. Let's start.
Broke down in tears when he told them he was going to face Mike Tyson. We are putting the real and surreal, and Tyson in his trademark coming out fast. Again, these are 2-minute rounds. Tyson requested the 2-minute rounds, wanting to see more action.
I think that's his most effective punch of the round. But they would see, the right hand grazes Mike Tyson by Jake Paul. That would have been a good shot had it been on the chin. So, yeah, I don't like Mike's legs. I don't like Mike's legs.
2 rounds. Jake Paul, 12 of 53, 23% first round. Right hand. And
he see Jake Paul land a good right hand to the body after the jab. Laid the jab there and threw a good right to the body. Pushed Mike off balance again because Mike wasn't ready for it. You don't like to see those kind of punches land because that tells you that his reflexes are off. And
all right. Yeah. Welcome to Peach Emma Life. It's the Wonder Twins.
Wow. All right.
Peach Emma and David. David, say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Great to be with you tonight to talk about this sort of fight and a couple of really fun shows.
You know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this fight. Come on. That's kind of just how I felt. The best card of the night was the females. That fight was a real boxing match. The rest of them, it was some show kind of foolishness going on. Particularly the first fight when Goyat humped the other guy. That was just beyond the pale. But you just don't do that in boxing. And there were so many hands down. I was like, what is going on with these guys? I've watched boxing my entire life. I mean, like literally, I've watched every fight that was a big major fight. And this wasn't hitting. What? David, what did you think of this fight?
Well, you know, you've got two characters that, I mean, you've got a great champion who's had some challenges in his personal life and a character from reality TV who's buffed up. He's tatted up and he's buffed up. But this should never have taken place. This was a farce. The folks that run Netflix, you know, and they've been incredibly successful. And they went from the DVDs to streaming. And now they've got a live show. Some challenges, I think, for many people trying to access the live show. They, you know, but they really are kind of a P.T. Barnum-esque group. I mean, they are showmen. They're about business. So I'm not surprised by this effort. I understand they're going to be trying to do NFL down the road. I think so. So it'll be, I have some real questions about this. And of course, let me ask you this question, because many states where gambling has become the rage, everybody wants to be taxed by gambling now. I mean, whether you realize that or not, it's a tax. Many states prohibited any sports gaming on this fight.
Good.
Because they thought it was going to be more like a wrestling thing. Now, you and I are both wrestling fans. Did you think the fight was real or there was any serious competitive chance here? What are your thoughts?
So, hi, Tim Windsor. And Tim thinks that Tyson was paid off to lose. I don't know if he was paid off to lose, but when you have someone who's 58 fighting somebody 27 or 28, there is just no real kind of contest, because as you can see in the fight, he didn't have the leg stamina, you know, he didn't have speed. He barely had some good punches in there. So age does matter at some point, particularly in athletics. So I was, of course, me like everybody else was hoping Mike would knock the F out of Jake Paul. But of course, Jake Paul really hasn't fought a real fighter.
No.
He's fought these all of them are kind of exhibition or people way past their prime. He hasn't gone up against somebody his age, his speed, his strength, his with real boxing ability.
Yeah.
So if he wanted a real fight, why didn't he ask Conor McGregor? Or anybody who's within his age range and height and weight and reach. So I mean, Iron Mike kind of looked like aluminum Mike. So okay, but at the end of the day, both of them got what they wanted, right? Jake got to say that he beat Mike Tyson. He didn't beat Iron Mike. He beat Mike Tyson, the grandfather. And Mike Tyson got to have another fight, made $20 million in 16 minutes. Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
And got to kind of, say that he could be out there. Booty cheeks and all.
How about that? Who was out? All right. Who did you enjoy listening to more during the evening? Cedric the Entertainer or Rosie Perez or somebody else?
I mean, they weren't, great Jim Lamprey. I'm just thankful he didn't stick his head in this mess. And the great what's his name? The Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy. I guess they couldn't give him enough money to do it. It wasn't in Vegas. That tells you a lot. Rosie Perez was okay, but she's a fan. She's not really a boxing commentator. She's a super fan. And I really would have preferred to hear from real boxing professionals to talk about the fighting and the difference. I think one of the most sad kind of situations was Evander Holyfield and what was going on either with his mic or with him. None of it was good. So, but I mean, I just don't think you could have commentators who aren't real. Maybe one, but it was like one professional boxer and then all these other entertainment people. That's not boxing. So this is entertainment. It's just made boxing look like wrestling. It might be good for the sport though, because young people grew up with Jake Paul. So maybe it'll bring young people back to the sport the way we watched it when we were younger. But they got to get better, authentic, genuine matches. Yeah. What did you think of the commentators? And
I thought it was pretty bush league, but I wasn't looking at this as a real sport. To me, it was just more of a fiasco. All that was missing was Don King getting in the middle of it, or maybe Leslie Nielsen doing an Enrico Palazzo national anthem kind of deal to give it the spoof camp that it deserved. But I applaud Netflix. I mean, they're always looking to try and do different things. Yeah. And they've been very successful in their platform, but now
and let's give some props to Jake Paul. He kind of had this idea, put it together, promoted it, had the undercard. The two women were really the fight of the night. So, I mean, he's trying to do what he can to elevate boxing. I would rather see him as a promoter and have boxers under him. Yeah. That makes more sense to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at Don King. He never stepped in the ring, but he had some of the greatest boxers of all time. I mean, he ripped them off, but you know,
He did that
but
a
it
lot.
was good for both of them, but it was bad for both of them. I mean, what did Jake Paul really win? You beat up a 58-year-old man. Come on now.
Well, it's
Is
just more
that
notoriety. I mean, he's very popular in his world, but he has kind of connected with other folks. Real Sports did talk about this some. I mean, real professional journalists a little bit. So, if there's such a thing as if he believes there's no such thing as bad publicity, well, he got that.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
But I sat there for 4 hours buffering in and out. Oh, let's talk about Netflix. Okay, you had 6 months literally to prepare
right.
for this kind of match, and the server should have been way more adept at handling the traffic. They knew it was going to be a huge event, and they sucked in terms of the preparation to make sure the streaming mechanisms worked. What did you think of that?
Oh, I agree. They were clearly not ready for prime time.
No.
They are not used to that kind of demand for live programming.
Yeah.
And it really showed. And as they're looking to dip their toes into the NFL, and where people will take it very seriously to be able to see, from beginning to end.
Yep.
All you got to do is think back. You kids that are watching this, they've never turned off a football game in this country again after one channel, I think NBC, as a football game was going long, they switched to Heidi. Yes, Heidi, the old movie. And that was just a little bit too much for America's football fans, as we were discovering one of our many religions in this country, as it has become more of one. So Netflix has got to really figure some things out here with the systems. Now, I think they're capable of it, but if they think they got a big crowd for this, if they're going to go to NFL or if they're going to go to soccer, where the world, because they are an international brand, they've got to be thinking about other ways to secure their servers and keep the stream alive.
Yeah. Or I watched it. I ended up having to watch it on my phone, and it looked beautiful on the phone.
Oh,
and no buffering. So just let people know that too. If it's optimized for your mobile device, let us old heads who watch it on the TV know, so we can either Chromecast it or do the casting to the TV to make it work. But yeah, that was a big old mess and not good for Netflix. Yeah. I mean, do the XFL, and stick with that. Don't try to do NFL. You won't have people tearing down your building if they can't watch their football. So
yeah, you will.
For real. Okay, that was some bullshit. So next up,
the after hours version of PGM Alive.
So let's take a look at Cross, the new Alex Cross series.
You can call me Detective Alex Cross.
Daddy.
Sugar?
Alex.
Oh, I know who you are. Metro PD's golden boy.
This girl's messing.
Multiple victims are connected to this.
And you know this how?
It's doing its thing.
Have you always been this good?
You're not in my head. Oh, I'm definitely living rent-free. You know. I lost my wife a little over a year ago.
It gets weirder.
You think you can stop him? I know I can. Because I know him better than he knows himself.
Ooh, David, what'd you think?
I thought this was overall pretty wonderful. Aldous Hodge is a fantastic actor.
Mhm.
He's done some comedy work. He's played smart characters. If for those of you who are watching are familiar with the show Leverage, which I loved, I thought he was great. He played the character of Hardison, and Aldous Hodge really center stage, being a strong leading man, powerful performances. I think it was how many ever episodes? I felt like it was a little drawn out, a little long in some places.
Yeah,
That was a
especially
little
those first 4 episodes. I fell asleep. So,
okay. Well, to be
but
true,
push
I did.
through.
I did too, but I was pretty tired that night. But
Yeah.
I did, but I enjoyed it overall. It was a little slow in some spots, and you had really 2 tracking parallel stories. So I think they
Mhm.
could have done like a season and then like maybe like little extra season.
Yeah.
They could have done it, split it up. I think might have been.
I think they are. I think they dropped 8 episodes, but it's 11 in this in this season so far. And it's going to have a second season. So, I
I'm
think
looking forward to
year,
a second. I'm all down for that, but I did feel like they had a very worthy secondary who done it, what's going on kind of story
yeah.
that could have been like a 1.1 or a 1.2 version in between
Mhm.
a second season that might have allowed us to kind of, ooh, this is good, because
Yeah.
it was strong villain. It's a little, I don't want to give spoilers if you haven't seen it. I finished it off this week and couldn't stop watching it other than when I fell asleep, yes.
Yeah.
But there were a couple spots. But great villain. Really, if the book is like that, it's a little gratuitous in some of the aspects of the violence, which I
Yeah.
could have done with a little less of, to be
Yeah.
frank. But it was really good, and I love the bromance. Aldous Hodge, Alex Cross has a good friend. The 2 of them. There were some really powerful things in there, and
Mhm.
a "you had me at hello" kind of moment
Yeah.
between the 2 guys that I really thought was really cool. What about you? What'd you think?
It started off slow. I admit I was like, I fell asleep and then tried to pick it back up and fell back to sleep on another one and then had to go back. And then when I had time to connect by the 3rd episode, kind of in the middle,
Yeah,
then I felt picked up. And from that point on, the story really connected and clicked. And this is a long running series. There are more books. There are like several books in this
there's a
series.
ton of books, which
This
are
is James Patterson's like premiere series.
yeah,
I
it's
think this
his
is
guy.
what got him on the map.
Yeah.
So he's a executive producer on this. So I think the stories are really well told, really from a Black perspective too. I was very interested to see what he's done, and I really liked a lot of Black directors, a lot of female directors, writers. So it's a very DC show. Although it doesn't look like DC. We're both know what DC looks like.
Right.
And this show is Canadian. I mean, I was like, they've got DC houses. I mean, it's a very minor kind of thing.
There were
But
a couple of row houses that looked a little like it would be there. And of course you
yeah,
had Ben's Chili Bowl
yeah,
as as a thing. A little bit of talking about the Nationals, a little bit of flavor of the city.
yeah.
Did you ever read the books?
I haven't. Those are some of the books that I haven't
Yeah.
read. But I might pick one up to see, how they either adapted the books
Yeah.
or how closely they stuck to the source material. But I think this killer goes through several of the books.
I think so. I think he does.
Yeah,
The
and but it's hard for me to get out of seeing Morgan Freeman as Alex Cross in Kiss the Girls, or it was like a couple of movies with Morgan Freeman as Alex Cross, and then Tyler Perry was Alex Cross in a movie, and that was terrible. So I think Aldous Hodge is a good fit for it, but I just have to let go of the Morgan Freeman version, which of course he was amazing. And it is pretty cool though. It's pretty cool. What did you think? Uh-oh, is David frozen? Oh no. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm back.
Is it just
I'm
like you
fading in
did
and
on
out
the
a
first
little bit here.
episodes? Exactly.
Talk about your buffering. Netflix is punishing me.
Yeah, Netflix.
Well,
Yeah,
I love Aldous
breaking our
Hodge.
service.
I love Aldous Hodge. So to me,
Yeah.
seeing him in this role, and I certainly have a great respect for Morgan Freeman, but love Aldous Hodge.
Yeah.
So excited that he's got a chance to kind of go from a wonderful ensemble piece like Leverage, that again I just dearly love, to this. Great job. Great representation of a detective, this Renaissance man.
Complicated.
Yes, very complicated.
Person. Yeah.
Loving father, but challenges there with the family. I enjoyed that piece. I'll say this for the Patterson novels. I liked the story. I liked this show better than the only one. So, small sample size, better than the one novel of his I read.
Oh, so you've read the first book.
I did read one of his books. I don't know in what order. I was familiar with the hero, and I think it was on grabbed it at an airport for one of those coast to coast flights. It's popcorn.
Yeah.
It's cotton candy.
Yeah.
The chapters are the most digestible things I've ever seen. Now, I not necessarily would want Moby Dick, and I can't ever recommend Edith Wharton to anybody under any circumstances. But I felt like, God, this is like cotton candy.
Yeah.
For the brain. It wasn't great stories on the one that I read. Now maybe this version, this one in the book form of this show, maybe I would have a different opinion. But it was like, it's so easily digestible and discardable. I found his work. Like, and speaking of discardable, he could say, I could buy and sell you, Sonny, so keep trash talking me. But I recommend watching this show. I thought it was good.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's something that adults can watch.
Yes.
And have a good time with. So definitely check out Cross on Prime Video. Next is Colin Farrell deserves all of the flowers and Emmys for his portrayal in The Penguin. Let's take a look.
I'm the daughter of the Falcone Don, but he's dead. The family thinks I'm broken. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sophia, I thought you was still at,
Arkham? No. I've been rehabilitated.
So who's got the power in this city? The Falcones? The Maronis? Why the hell not us?
You want to take what's mine?
And I'm here now. I'll be calling the shots.
Betrayed me, the daughter of the Falcone Don. What have they done to you?
I got a lot of heat on me.
We had a deal. We look out for each other. We don't fuck each other over.
After everything I've done for you!
You think I want Sophia Falcone knocking on my door?
She is the hangman.
What is it you're really after, Oz?
Yeah, when she became Sophia Gigante, I was like, I love that name for one. What'd you think of The Penguin?
I have to say, I did. I've watched the whole thing. I have to say, my initial thoughts, if you and our loyal audience recall, it was The Sopranos. So I said, so what?
Yeah.
Then you watch it. The character of the Penguin And yeah, Colin Farrell does an amazing job with the makeup and bringing this character to life in a scary, even darker bad guy than you thought at the beginning in his manipulation of things. This was wonderful. This was wonderful. The characters were strong. The plot, the chessboard maneuvering, and even the tragedy where it looks like certain characters are going to wind up right back where they were before. It's like, ooh, man, maybe you should have taken a flight somewhere. I don't know. It was, but that theme, there's a great line there in that trailer that we just showed where it's like, well, why can't we be on top? And that is a rallying cry and a motivator for many, many. What about you? I fell in love with this show on a second watch. What's going on with your opinion?
So I really enjoyed it. I had to blow through some episodes because just life got in the way, and picked it up at the end. And boy, oh boy, man, that final episode, the final 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
Wow.
Just cold-blooded is what I'll say. Just the coldness of the cold. It was like Arctic cold. And was like, wow, Colin Farrell is a beast. I mean, he started off as a pretty boy, and frankly, he still is super fine, even better looking than when he was younger. But his acting is monstrous. I mean, he is the talented actor out there right now. I mean, he can do it all pretty much. And this performance, which started off as kind of a joke, when you look at the old Batman and pretty much every movie that there's been, but he has elevated this villain to something on par with the Batman. I mean, Matt Reeves, in taking his character and doing what he's done in this show, is just incredible. Incredible.
It is, and it makes you want to watch this show again. It makes you want to watch the movie again.
Yeah, and what's her name? Is it Christina Milioti?
I think so.
Christina Milioti? She deserves credit too. She was amazing.
Yeah.
And the mother, the mother. Woo.
Well, and the little boy that plays Penguin as a kid, I think he does a really nice job.
Yes, to be the conscience of the show. And what's his name? The Maroney. Clancy Brown, who I've loved since Blue Steel. Go look it up. I love that movie.
Oh man, deep cut.
Yeah, deep cut. That's how far back our relationship goes. But he's amazing. I mean, it just hasn't been a misstep in it. I mean, I enjoyed it as a noir kind of thriller.
Yeah.
Kind of that whole who's gonna come out on top kind of, at one point you think it's this one, another point you think it's that one, and then at the end it's like, oh shoot. I wasn't expecting that at all. So it is definitely something you all need to check out, and maybe watch it a couple times and see, what you might have missed. David, what you thinking?
I think I agree on watching it a couple times. Another really strong performance. I believe the gentleman's name is Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown.
A lot of stories.
Yes.
He also was in The Mandalorian and played the big devil guy with his horns. He's fantastic. Did some voice work in the Rebels cartoon for Star Wars. great casting.
Yeah.
I love also the relationship between the Penguin and the one young man. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he could have killed him. He was gonna vandalize his car. He turned him into his teammate, if you
Yeah.
will. And I mean, that young man, for better or for worse, when you think about what's going on in this universe, he is keeping the Penguin alive. He
Yeah.
has saved him more than once
Yeah.
here, and wouldn't have necessarily had to for a host of reasons. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fascinating to see, and even showed him loyalty there at times. Again, not wanting to be too much of a spoiler. Highly
Yeah.
recommend this show. I want to see more of it. This is probably, in my mind, the most thoughtful and well written Batman esque story. It's adjacent to the
Yeah.
crime fighter,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
it's incredible if you can get that quality of storytelling in
Yeah.
when you bring in the protagonist.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Wow,
why
that's going to
can't
be
they
something.
do this? And David, here's a question for you. Why can't they do this in the movies? In DC, why can't DC do this for the other characters? Why is DC failing in the movies and
I think,
succeeding in the TV shows?
well, I think partly this is everyone has a voice. Every accountant, every producer, everybody that gets any kind of points on a show wants to have some kind of input in the hero. And there's this kind of focus on what can be done in a movie. Oh, well, we've got to do an origin story. We have to do this. We got to do X. When it's a secondary character who takes center stage, there's fewer voices.
Mm.
And another piece of this that's really important is the villains drive these stories. In all kinds of drama, it is the villain. And they usually can be the more interesting character. So I think
Yeah.
there's a part of that. I would also say this is something, it's not just a DC problem. I would say also, and Marvel, its first run didn't have this, but I do think they're having that issue on a secondary level at Disney Plus with their television shows and some of their secondary, their new run of
Mm-hmm.
movies to kind of extend that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I could see that there were secondary characters in Star Wars that Disney created that I think were far more interesting than what they did with the lead characters.
Uh-huh.
A great example of that in my mind is in the movie Solo, where you
Yeah.
had Woody Harrelson's Beckett and Thandie Newton as Val. Those
Uh-huh.
characters, oh my gosh, you killed them off. This movie is old. How great would it have been to have had stories about their smuggling and their capers and a Disney TV show for them? I mean, that really would have been fun. So it's sometimes when these people, they put more stuff in the things that are just in the corner of your eye and not really focused on for
Uh-huh.
whatever reasons. And that's where the depth is. And it's too many cooks in the kitchen, I think, for the movies and with the protagonists and thinking they're trying to make an epic. And right now, as they try to make an epic, it falls short. This is a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll be talking about this in terms of superhero 2.0 kind of thing. I
Yeah.
just don't want them to start doing these. Everything is a deconstruction of the hero or glamorizing the villain kind of shows.
Well,
I
it's
still want
yeah.
I still want a shining star of a hero story.
I agree.
I can take these kind of little pieces. I don't want to keep making a meal of it though.
Yeah,
So,
I do think we need true heroes. I think
Yeah.
you've had anti-heroes at times, but I
Yeah.
am concerned as a society that we've seemed to want to glorify the villain taking that lead role in the stories, where you've got an audience kind of geared the emotion, the energy, the music has you cheering for a bad guy.
Right.
Now in
And
this story, there are a lot of bad guys.
yeah, there's not anyone that's really good. But when I went to the Star Wars park at Disney and went to make a sword, a lightsaber, and at one point they ask you, lift your swords and let us see what you've chosen. I couldn't believe the ones who chose like the dark sabers or the
the
red sabers. I was like, what kind of mess is this? What kind of anti-hero universe am I in right now? Or just straight up villain universe? So I think whereas I grew up with good and bad, and you never wanted to be, maybe one guy who was a jerk wanted to be the villain. Man, you got a whole switcheroo happening, and kids want to be the villain, and that kind of disturbs me. On a kind of some kind of level. I don't like it. So they need to come out with some clean heroes like the fine Henry Cavill as Superman. Yes. Chris Evans as Captain America. Double yes. Chadwick as Black Panther.
I'm seeing a theme here, Pam. I'm seeing a pretty strong theme.
A fine man. Yes, you are.
Luckily, Title IX doesn't apply to you in these situations. But
I mean, Wonder Woman, double yes. She was amazing. Loved the first movie. Second movie was trash. And
won't
just
disagree.
want that. I want that. So give it to me. Sagitate with it. So definitely check out The Penguin. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
No,
Please
no, you
don't
won't.
let your kids watch it though. Well, that's all we have this week. Next week we will have Silo is coming out on Apple TV Plus, and it's finally here. I'm super excited. Dune Prophesy. I've been waiting. I can't wait. The wait is almost over. It's tomorrow night. So we will definitely review each of those throughout their run. So Dune Prophecy, come back. If you're a super fan like we are, definitely check it out. David, let's say goodnight to the people.
Everybody have a wonderful week. Start getting yourself ready for the real holiday season with Thanksgiving coming up. Enjoy the festivities this week as we're getting a little bit closer to that, whether that's football or basketball or going out and getting something pumpkin-esque. Have a great week. We'll see you later.
Don't do pumpkin. Do sweet potatoes. Sweet potato pie. And enjoy your week. We will see you next time on Pajama Life. Take care.